Hello, hello, everyone. We are back. Are you all okay? Are you all okay? Are you all ready for this next segment? It's going to be absolutely amazing. We have some authors who are about to come and share about their experience. So, for some of you who have been thinking about writing a book, or if you have a book but you haven't even started on the next book, because one thing I learned about after becoming an author, after becoming a writer, God calls you to do it again. Because once you've overcome one feat, it gives you the ability to continue to drive in that area because God will download more into you. And so I'm super excited because I know that this panel is going to be amazing to stir up your faith and get insight on the process in the journey of becoming an author from people who have done it, who have taken the leap, who have taken the step of faith. And so we have some amazing people that are going to be before you. We have Jessica Shepherd, who is a new author. She'll tell you all about it. I'm not going to give all the goods. She is the moderator of our panel today. We also have Miss Dominique Peel. She is an author as well, and we are eagerly awaiting the official release so we can get that tangible copy. But she's an author. It's done, it's sent, it's created, it's developed. And so I'm super excited for you, her. And then also we have Pastor Chris Cox, powerful man of God, who is making great strides and has written a book so that other people can continue to grow and go to their next level. So without any further ado, they're going to give you all the goods about everything. So go ahead, buckle up and share. Remember to share the live. We are doing a social media takeover. Okay, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, and we are on Facebook. We are doing a social media takeover. So to be a part of the takeover, you have to share. All right, for the glory and the honor of God. All right, without any further delay, my name is Siobhan, and buckle up your seatbelts. Let's do it.
Hey guys. Hello. All right. We are going to get started. We are super excited for everyone that has joined today. We just talked about our faith going up, and now hopefully after this panel is done, you will have the faith that you need to step out and start writing. So I want to start out by first Siobhan did a little bit of an introduction, but I want to give everyone a chance to share like who they are, a little bit about you, so that everyone watching has a little bit of an idea of like who we are. So Dominique, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about you.
First, here with you for having. My name is Dominique Peel. I am 29 years old. I am a new author. I am a mentor. I am a coach. I'm overall a change agent. If you come into my presence, you're going to have an encounter with God's glory somehow, whether it be, something tangible, something that's said, you're going to encounter God's glory. I was a former mental health counselor. I just, enjoy seeing people walk in their identity, their purpose, and be the best version of themselves that God created them to be.
Yes. All right. Pastor Chris Cox, tell us who you are.
What's good, family? My name is Chris Cox. I am a youth and young adult pastor here in the Hampton Roads areas in Hampton, Virginia. And I've been in youth ministry for maybe almost 15 years now. And over this past year, I've been blessed to write a couple of books for students. And so I am super excited to share that and to share some of that journey. But yeah, that's who I am. I serve young people, pastor's kid. I've been in church all my life. And I'm excited to be here in this moment to have this conversation and to support my great sister, Siobhan.
Awesome. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about me real quick. My name is Jessica Shepherd. I am a team lead over the youth ministry at my church. I've been working with kids since I can remember. I have such a huge heart for them. I'm currently a behavior technician. I give ABA services to autistic children one-on-one. So that's just a little tidbit about me. So first question I want to ask is, what is the name of your book and why did you decide to write it? And if you have more than one, you can share them both. Chris, we'll start with you this time.
Okay. I have my first book is a devotional for teenage guys. It's a 5-minute gratitude teen boys devotional that came out in October. It came out towards the end of October. And then I have another book that I just announced this past week. That's a 5-minute devotional for younger boys ages 5 to 7, and it comes out on December the 28th. So it's available now for pre-orders on Amazon. And so basically, I was given the opportunity from a publishing company. They reached out and found me. They're a company that looks for trends and things that people are looking for on search engines and things like that for their, for whatever kind of consumption that they have. Because they don't just do Christian books. They do all kinds of books based on, research that they do as it pertains to what people are looking for. And so then they find, people who are professionals in those fields to write the book for them. And so they reached out to me with an outline for these books. For the first one, they reached out to me and asked me to write it. And when I did it, like what really pushed me to want to write this book was I got to think back to the time where I was living in the lives of these people that I'm writing to. And I was able to revisit some of those places. And I tell people all the time, if there was ever one particular time in my life where I felt like I wanted to give up, it was during my 5th, 6th grade years. I was going through a transition from living in the military life to going back to Alabama where all my family was. But there was a different mindset down there, and I had to kind of navigate through all of that. And I remember facing those changes as a young person and becoming so caught up in what I didn't have, living this life of like comparison, that I forgot to be grateful for what I did have. So it's a gratitude devotional, but it's so many different topics. They all just kind of wrap around this idea of how to be grateful no matter what state of life that you're in. So that was a fun journey writing that book.
Awesome. All right. Dominique, your book, and why did you write it?
Okay, my book is called Unleash Her Unveiled. Long story, but I'll give the short version. Back in about 2017, 2018, I had just went on this journey with God. Like, I used to go to Barnes and Noble every day, and I would walk in saying, like, one day I have a book on the shelf. One day, people are going to purchase a book that God has given me to write, and from there, God gave me just the boldness to write in my vision board that I did every year, So this particular year, I wrote in my vision board, I'm going to be an author. God, give me the words to write. Give me the book that you want to give others. And from there, he began to give me what to write. One Sunday I was in church, and my pastor had gave us these little name labels, and he told us to spend some time throughout the week going through who God says that you are. I didn't realize that I really did not know who I was in Christ. I struggled to fill up that name label. So God began to take me back to the basics, back to the foundation, and have me, digging in the word. He would give me songs, he would give me Bible verses, he would give me just different things he would lay on my heart to tell me who I was. He would affirm me in different ways, and then he had me to begin to write. As I began to write, I just began to go on a healing journey of my own to just rediscover who I was in Christ. And as I did so, he just began to tell me, there's your book. So I'll Unleash Her Unveiled. And it's for anyone who feels they are struggling in their identity in Christ, or sometimes life happens. The enemy can whisper in our ears and try to strip us of what we know and who we are and whose we are. And you may just need a reminder and that affirmation all over again, because I found times where I'm confident in who I am, but life begins to happen, and then you forget. Sometimes you slip, and then God reminds you, no, get back up. This is who you are. This is who I've called you to be. So be on the lookout in the next few weeks. It'll be hitting my website and other platforms, and it's called Unleash Her Unveiled.
Yes, I was just going to say, when is it going to be available? In a few weeks, people. Okay, got to remember to get that one. So I wrote a Bible alphabet book for children. And I wrote this because I realized that through COVID, when everything shut down, there was no church, there was nowhere to go. And I started to realize that my relationship with God wasn't what it should have been, because growing up, I was always taught, like, we go to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. If there's an extra service, we're in there. And so I equated having a relationship with God with serving and showing up to church. But at home, we weren't really praying. We weren't doing Bible studies. Like, who's Jesus at home? Like, that's really how it kind of was. All we knew was that we believed in him, but we didn't do anything to develop a relationship. And I got to a point, with working with children, I started, teaching. And as I got into like really studying in order to teach the kids, I really enjoyed it, but it kind of started to show me how to have that relationship. And so I really wanted to write this book to give parents an opportunity to open the word to kids. And it's called Bible Alphabet Book, Big Ideas for Little Minds. And I took like adult principles that children aren't typically taught, and I broke it down into very simple ways that children can understand, because children need to develop that relationship with God at a young age. That way, as they get older, they're not like, wait a minute, life has hit me hard, and now I got to figure out who Jesus is on top of all of that. Like, if they already know who God is, they already know their place in the kingdom as a child. When life hits you hard, you're not struggling to manage all of that, plus develop a relationship. So that's why I wrote the book, just to help children develop a relationship with God at a young age, because that's not something that I got. So I just wanted to provide something that I didn't have when I was a kid. So that was just something that was really important to me. So question next is, what are some things that tried to hinder you from writing your book that others might be battling with right now? So Dominique, what are some things that kind of hindered you or tried to hinder you from either getting started or through the process that someone else that's interested in writing a book might be struggling with right now?
I would say the biggest one for me was fear. It was fear of having to find my voice, fear of having to use my voice, fear of people now seeing the Dominique that they didn't see before, because I would always, shrink to the back, hide in the rooms that I went in, and act like, I had nothing to say, when all along God was giving me things to say. Also fear of success, like, what if this goes right? What if this, the one thing that God uses to take my life off? I would say that those were some of the big things. It was just honestly getting past fear, just having to embrace who God called me to be and what he's gifted me to do, and to just have the faith, the courage, and the boldness to do it, because if God told me to do it, then it's something that needs to be out. And then I had to get past myself and understand that someone else needs to read this book, someone else needs what God has given me to release, because if this is not released, then someone else out there is dying without what is being put on these pages that they may need to read. And I don't know the timing that they may need to read it. So I think that was another important thing. And I would say lastly, just understanding that life happens and you'll have to push through adversity sometimes. You'll have to push beyond your feelings. There were times where I did not feel like right, but I had to just push myself to get beyond myself, because I knew it was beyond me. So having to create those atmospheres of writing, create those atmospheres of, I'm going to do this today because I know that God wants me to do this. So regardless of how I feel, or, what is happening in life around me, I am dedicated to getting this out.
All right, Chris, what hindered you or tried to?
Yeah, so mine's probably a little bit similar. I think the biggest thing for me, I remember getting on a Clubhouse earlier this year, and I remember the conversation kind of being centered around, what are you going to do to win this week? And I talked about this idea that I had for a book that was almost 3 years old. Like, I've been having this idea to write and to do different things, but I keep allowing this conversation in my head to kind of talk me out of it. And so basically what I had to do was stop sleeping on myself. Like, I had to wake up to the reality that, hey, you've been in this for a while. Like, God has been showing you some stuff. And if it comes from God and it comes from your heart, it's going to reach the hearts of those who read it. You just have to wake up. And when I say that, like, even in my preparation for coming on today, when I was going through my closet, like, what am I gonna wear? And I found this shirt, that this is one of my shirts from my t-shirt line. And I remember back to the time when I created this shirt. Like, it was a time where I had stepped away from a job, from a 9 to 5 job, a regular job, and I was really stepping into my purpose full time. And I started to realize that, even though I didn't have to wake up to clock into someone's clock at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was waking up even earlier on my own. And when I woke up, my mind would be just flooded with all of these ideas and concepts that were pertaining to my purpose. And whenever you're asleep, whenever someone is asleep, you've lost consciousness. You can't you've lost your sense of awareness of what's around you and what's even sometimes inside of you. You're just resting. And I think that's how I was even when I was awake, technically awake, I was still asleep on myself, and I had lost the awareness of what I really had inside of me. And so it wasn't until purpose came knocking on my door. Purpose became my alarm clock. Purpose woke me up out of sleep, and I had to just sit down and write, and just sit down and do it. And every time I did it, there was a flow that came. Every time I, would just get up and started writing, no matter how I felt, no matter, because you can't wait for the feelings to go away. That's the thing. Like, you can't wait for you to feel like you want to do it, or you to feel like because there's always going to be that conversation going back and forth in your head. But you just got to press it. You just got to do it. And once you start doing it, God would speak through you. And I had to take off this expectation of perfectionism. Like, I had to just stop trying to be perfect all the time. I think that's what stopped me from even starting a whole lot of stuff, is that I wanted it to look a certain way, or I wanted it to be a certain standard. And God knew that about me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's why eventually, when I did get the opportunity to write the book, it came through a publishing company. It was able to look a certain way and all those things. But I had to start at start. You just got to start. And then when I did that, there are other people who are out there that are in place to make your stuff, make sure your spelling is right, make sure your grammar is right. These are some of the first, even when I first got the opportunity, if I'm being honest with you, my first concern wasn't, is God going to speak to me, to this generation, or do I have something to say to them? My first thing was, when I got the opportunity to write this book, is my grammar going to be right? Is somebody go fix that? You know what I'm saying? Not knowing, there are editors out there. There are people out there to make that stuff happen. You just focus on the content and focus on what God is giving you to share. And then He'll open up the doors to make sure everything else goes.
That is good. I think for me, the biggest hindrance for me was the way I saw myself, like my own identity. I knew I was supposed to write the book. I was at I knew God already spoke loud and clear. I knew I was supposed to write, but I started to question, do I really have something to say? Who am I to put a book out there? I'm nobody. I didn't see myself the way that God saw me, or the way that other people did, because other people were like, you have something to say. And I was like, no, I don't. What are you talking about? I have nothing to give. And so I really had to battle overcoming an identity crisis almost. I really had to begin to shift how I saw myself, to understand that I did have something to offer. And so I think that was probably the hardest thing for me, even as I was writing. I was going through the process and dealing with the illustrators and everything else. And when you do a children's book that has so many pictures and stuff, you have to deal with illustrators. And I'm a creative, and I do not want to offend people. So I'm like, okay, they gave me these illustrations, but this one page, absolutely not. They tried it, and they need to try it again. And that was hard for me, because I was just like, well, I don't want to offend anybody. But then I was like, wait a minute, I'm actually paying for this. So let me tell you guys what I really want. And so I really had to go back and forth with myself, with, just stepping up, and I had to man up and just be like, okay, this is my book. This is my vision. I have to really step into who I am supposed to be. So I think my biggest issue was just the little bit of identity crisis that I went through as I started writing. So our next question: what did you learn about yourself on this journey to becoming an author? Dominique?
I would say I learned that I had a voice. I learned that I can use my voice in the capacity that God is calling me to use it in. And I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but God has called me to a specific people to use my voice to speak out for them, to help them through. I learned that I have something to say in terms of a testimony. I always, like I said, used to hide, used to shy back, and used to act like I had nothing to say, nothing that I had gone through, no experience, no wisdom. But God has given me things. He has let me go through experiences to speak up about so that I can help someone else not have to go through the same, or to help them through whatever it is that they're dealing with as well. I know that my life coach, she asked me one time, what what are your things that you have to offer to the world? What is your testimony? So I had to sit and like actually write it out. And then my mentor as well asked me, what are your pain points? Like what are your pain points and your passion points? What are some things that you enjoy and some things that you have gone through, So just using those things, I've learned that I have a testimony to share. The word even tells us we're overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So I learned to use my voice, and that I don't have to wait. If God has given me the go, to use it, to do it, to go, to help someone, because it's not about me at the end of the day. I don't want to see someone on the other end dying because I'm afraid and holding back, being selfish in what I have to offer.
That's good.
Yeah, I would say I've learned that I have to always give God permission and space to let me evolve, like to become something that I didn't think I would be or didn't think I would do. Like I have to leave room. I tell some of my students that all the time. I have one in particular, and I think he might be watching. I'm not sure if he's still on or not, but he has his life planned out to the T. And I tell him, I said, well, leave space for Jesus, because he may call you into something that you don't even realize that you are yet. But I was able to embody the scripture that says, no greater love than this, that a man would lay down his life for his friends. And sometimes that doesn't just mean like to physically kill yourself, but all of us have these things that we've built up as it pertains to what life is for us, and the things that we've said we were going to do and we were going to accomplish, and the things that keep us busy, the things that keep us occupied. And then opportunities or callings come from God to do things like write a book, which takes up a lot of time, takes up a lot of energy, takes up a lot of it just takes a lot. I didn't even realize how much it was going to take to try to take what was in my heart and put it on paper, and to really want it to communicate well. And so all of that is me having to lay down my life. I remember during the process of writing these books, it was some of it was during the summertime when I was traveling a lot and speaking at different places and running off of a stage and into my hotel room and trying to write down because I got something on my heart to share. And it just taught me that, God can do anything if we would give him our yes, and if we would just be available to him. We don't have to be perfect, just available. And I've learned to give God that space to let me evolve, to let me become something. Like I didn't think this time last year that I'd be calling myself an author, but not only in 1 year have I released one book, but there's two. It's like it still blows my mind to this moment that it's happened. But just giving God that space is what really caused it to happen.
That's good. I think for me, I had to learn to lose control. I, as a creative, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, like when you create something, it's your baby and you don't want anyone to touch it. Like you're like, okay, I have this vision, I have these ideas, this is how I want it to look. And as an author, like especially a children's author, you can't do that. um, because when you have something, like with my book that has illustrations, I can't draw. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to that. So I had to let go, lose control, give that control to somebody else and let them help me. And that's, I think, one of the the things that I really learned about myself is that I can't do it all. I have to let other people in. I needed other voices, when I was having my identity crisis, and I was just like, I can't do this. I had to let people in to encourage me. If I didn't let them in to encourage me, this book probably wouldn't have even ever been made. So I think one of the most important things is to, and one of the first things when I started going to my church and my pastor ever told me is that in order to gain control, you have to lose control. And that's, with God, you can't try to control everything. And that's kind of like what you were saying. Like you have to give God space to do him. And if you're trying to control it all, you can't. So for me, I think I really just had to learn that I don't have to control everything, because when I let go and I let other people in to be a part of the process, it turned out to be amazing. And if I would have tried to do it by myself, I would have been so stressed out. Like, I think losing the control that I wanted so bad actually made it easier. So our next question, um, what advice would you give to someone that is ready to launch their first book? Chris?
My advice would be launch it. Do whatever you can. Start with whatever you have, and you'll be amazed. And even if that means, and when I say that, even if that means like you just writing for the sake of writing, right? Because the best time to start is when you don't have the audience, is when you don't have the people cheering you on, because those same people that cheer you on when you make an announcement won't be there when you put the sale out.
Yep.
I learned that during my process. Like
That is very true.
everybody loves a good announcement, but when you check those sales records, then you start to see. So you have to
Yep.
do it for the love, not for the likes. And I tell people that all the time. Everything that I do it for the love and not for the likes, because I'll post certain things, especially in this social media thing. Like you have to move your you can't, God, you can't determine your success based on the reaction of people on social media, like, and things like that, or the people around you and those voices. Just start where you are. I remember even me, like when I got into speaking and I got into preaching, and I knew I was a little different. Like I didn't want to be like everybody else, and I knew that God wanted to raise me up a certain kind of way. The first thing I did was not go knock on everybody's door saying, "Give me an opportunity," or "Give me this," or "Give me a chance." No, I created a whole my first apartment when I was in Georgia. I took my laundry room because I didn't have a washer and dryer. So I took my laundry room and I put a world map in there. And then I had another side that had like some sticky notes of people's names. And I would go in there and I would preach to that map. Like I would put a pen in the map and I would dress up. You probably would have thought I was crazy if you walked in my house and see me fully dressed, having a full-on revival in China in my laundry room. Like I would just preach to a country, or I would preach to a state, or I would preach to a city. And what started happening was, as I got comfortable doing that, because when I'm in my laundry room, I don't have the voices, I don't have the noise, I don't have the acceptance or the dislike. All I have is an audience of one, and that's God. And so that concept, me starting there, is what's pushed me into this place now, where even when I do have a few people who are cheering me on, or a few people who respond or support or share or do those things, like I've learned how to embrace that and how to value that, but I don't allow that to determine how I feel about what I'm putting out or what I'm doing. I'm still doing it for the same audience that was in that laundry room with me, the audience of one. And if God calls me to do something, then he's also called an audience, or he's also called a people that I'm doing it for. And I just have to trust that, even if it's one person that reads your content and their life is radically changed, like that is a win. Like, even if it's one person that buys your book, that is a win. So start with where you are, and just once you start, God will pick up the pace for you. He will take it where it's supposed to go.
Dominique?
I would say a lot of the same. First, I would say healing is a journey, and that journey may be ugly. Just bottom line. For me, like I said, throughout my book, it was a lot of healing for me that I didn't know was coming out of that book. I cried so many times writing, and there were times I wanted to put the pen down, put the computer down. I wanted to run from that process. It's a process, but you must embrace it. If you're asking God to use you, like Pastor Chris said, you have to just take the control off and let God use you how he wants to use you. Be available. So I had to be available to let God heal me along the journey, to be able to even release something to you all. I cried many a times. There's times throughout the book that you see I said I was crying while writing this. But I had to face the ugly parts of it to understand that I needed to be healed to release what God was releasing. Again, don't do it for the claps of others. There'll be times when there's no one cheering you on, and you have to literally stand there with your feet flat on the ground and let yourself know that if God has called me to this, I'm going to do it in obedience to Him, not because I'm waiting for someone to clap and cheer me on, but because God told me to. That's what I'm going to get up and do. And just lastly, start with where you are. What's in you? It's in you already. Like, if God has called you to this, it's already in you. He has given you something to share with the people. You just have to be willing and available and trust that God is going to use your voice to push you forward, to release what it is that He's asking you to release. You just have to be able to embrace what it is that He wants you to release. Don't allow guilt, don't allow shame, don't allow fear, anything that you feel is holding you back to keep you from sharing your story or what God is asking you to release. It may not be what others want to hear, but it's what God wants for the earth, to bring about healing, to bring about deliverance, to bring about revival, to bring about change. So just release control and allow Him to do it. Lastly, I'm sorry that I'm going so long, but take the timeline off. Like I said, I wrote in my vision board 2017, 2018, God, I want to be an author. You've given me this idea to write a book. I spent my whole life, loving sitting in my room, writing and things like that, but here we are approaching 2022 and I'm finally getting ready to release this book. I had to take the timeline off of God. Like, I don't know when you're going to do it, but I trust that you've given me this idea and that you're going to do it. So just trust God and go forth. Start where you are. And I can't wait to hear that you're launching a book.
That is very good advice. I think the advice I would give is one, be wise. You have to take the time to, like, in this day and age of social media, you kind of have to understand how social media works. And if you're launching a book and you get super excited and you try to post that you're launching a book at 3 a.m., that doesn't make sense. You have to be wise about how you use your social media when you're ready to put it out there, like as far as like the launch is concerned. Like, and if you need to do some research, Google it. Like, Google is right there. Like, what's the best time to post? When is the best time to post? How is the best time to post? You don't want graphics that look crazy. You need to, if you don't know how to make graphics, find somebody that does. Like, find a friend, talk to somebody. Like, you want to make your stuff look good. You don't want to just post out like a fuzzy, blurry, crazy looking graphic and be like, oh, buy my book. People are going to be like, should I buy your book? I don't know. Like, you want your stuff to look good and look presentable. So that's one thing that I did throughout my process is like, I started looking up, like, how do you do these things? Like, follow people on Instagram and follow people on social media that do this, that know what's going on. Like, there's one person that I followed and he made a whole post about like, when you're posting, and that's something that I never thought of. And I was like, you know what? That's really good. Post encouraging things in the morning, post your business stuff in the afternoons, on the weekends. Don't post something long that you really want people to really focus on, because people are just trying to chill on the weekends, like, and that's stuff that I never thought of. So I was like, wow, that's really good. Like, and that was really helpful for me. Because, like, me being me, I would have been like, okay, it's Friday night. Let me post this big long thing with an announcement and go buy my book. And like, statistically, that would have not been the best time to post. So I would say be wise about that. And also, like Dominique said, trust God's timing. Because for me, my book was finished and it was ready to be posted or to be put out there back in June. And if I would have posted it in June, I'm telling you right now, I would have dropped it. It wouldn't have been beneficial for me at all. Because in July, when I tell you life hit me hard, I had no time to focus on putting a book out there or sharing it or doing anything with it, because I had to go through this crazy process with, family, and a lot of things happened. And I was really discouraged because I was like, man, my book is ready and now I can't do anything with it. And I'm ready to put it out there. Like, was this really God? Was this the right timing? Should I have really written this? Did I waste my time? And once things slowed down and settled and I was able to put it out there, I released, my book. I put it out there last weekend, and once I did it, I sat back and I was really able to appreciate the fact that I waited. In the moment when I waited, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a waste. Like, why did I even write this book? But, like I said, looking back, I can see that that's exactly how it needed to happen. So I would say just trust God's timing, because, you might be like, okay, it's done, let me go. But no. Like, talk to God first. Is God telling you, post it now? Is God telling you, release it now? Just because it's done doesn't mean it's the right timing. And just because you started late doesn't mean that you wasted time or that it's not what it's supposed to be. Like, if God told you to write a book 20 years ago and you haven't done it yet, it's not too late. It's all going to happen when it is supposed to. So just trust God's timing. I'm going to ask one more question, and then I think our time is going to be up. So the last question is, what did you learn about yourself in this journey to becoming an author? Dominique?
I would say that I learned that there were times that God was calling me to be the blueprint. I hadn't seen anyone in my family become an author. I didn't have anyone, to rely on, but God was showing me, this is what I'm giving you. So I'm calling you to be the blueprint. It felt a little uncomfortable because it's like, God, no one in my family has ever done this. So where do I start and how do I do this? But even in that, he taught me that it's okay to ask for help. I think that's exactly what you were just, mentioning, like taking the releasing control out of your hands and understanding it's okay to ask for help. I asked God to connect with me with people that, I would need during this season, and he did just that. Between life coach, mentors, like my writing and publishing company, like it's just amazing how God connected me with everyone, even down to being a part of my church. God began to place me there to show me language for my future and my life and my purpose, that I didn't even expect to get out of that, but he even did down to that part. So understanding that God can even use the people around you to help you, and you just have to be willing to accept that help. And I know for me, accepting help is a little hard because I think I got to be strong and have it all together and do it by myself. But he showed me to allow others into this space. Accountability. It's okay to ask for accountability. I know there's times when I got lazy during the writing process, but I had to call and phone a friend. Hey, I need you to hold me accountable. I said that I would have this many journal entries written by the end of the week, things like that. So that's what I learned. It's okay to ask for help and allow God to just use you.
Chris?
Yeah. So I learned, what did I learn about myself? Um I learned that I'm still able to do something even when I've convinced myself that I couldn't. I've also learned that, God has put me on a journey, and I was able to see how everything that I've been walking through or have walked through was so necessary. I was able to really, some things that I've just heard as a result of being in church all my life, I was able to walk out. I was able to experience firsthand. I was able to experience the power of the community, of some of the people that were in my life, that pushed me, that checked on me, that was like, "Hey, did you finish writing tonight? Did you do something? Did you make, progress tonight or today?" And some of those people, man, I've just learned to and grown to value so much. And most of all, I've learned that it still hasn't been revealed who we are yet. Like there's so much inside of us, but everything that God has asked us to do, he's already made an investment inside of us to be able to do it. And so it's time to pull on that investment and get it done, y'all. It's time to take off. Let's go.
Yeah, I think for me, what I learned about myself is that I'm capable. Um, I think a lot of times in my life there were like things that I started and then quit and I didn't finish. And this is really like the first thing that I started and saw it all the way through in a long time, if I'm honest. And it really like helped me to see that like I am capable. I can do it. And a lot of people were just, a lot of people spoke to me and gave me prophecies that like, you are an author, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And a lot of times I was just like, okay, that's cute. And, this really brought me to a place where I was like, you know what? Like what God said is true. Like I am this, I am that, like I am all these things. And so I think, you know, when you start a project like this, especially if you do it with God, you're going to grow and you're going to learn about yourself, and it's really going to help you to take off. Like it's really, this whole process just gave me so much more confidence. Like I really gained a lot more than what I had when I started. Like I am not the same person that I am today that I was when I started writing this book. And I think that when you start something like this, it is huge. Like it's a big deal. And there were a couple of times throughout the process where, like, you know, I would be talking to people and I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm writing a book. It's whatever. And they're like, wait a minute, what? Like it's a whole book. That is not whatever. That's a big deal. And like, I'm very like timid, and I'm just like, no, it's whatever. Like it's not a big deal. And through this process, I really learned to just like accept that it is a big deal and I'm able to do it, you know? So I'm just really proud of myself for getting through the process, because it was hard. And so I hope that throughout this discussion, this panel discussion, everyone watching has gotten something that they needed in order to pick that pen up or pull out your keyboard and start writing, because what you have to offer is important. Like, and sure, you might want to write the same thing that somebody else did, but it's not their voice. It's your voice, and you have something to offer that just because it's the same type of book, it's not going to be the same voice. And what you have to say matters. So hopefully somebody has been encouraged to start writing.
I love it. You all were absolutely amazing. I thank you all so much for being here, because I believe that somebody got some new understanding of why they need to take this step and why they need to take this journey. And you all were transparent in your process, because people are going through the very same things, because we have an enemy. And at the end of the day, the things that often hinder us are an attack so that we don't produce what's going to help change the world. And that's what makes all the difference in the world. And so I was listening to you all, and as you all were speaking, I was reminded of what Bishop T.D. Jakes said in his book, Don't Drop the Mic. Because although he's talking from the perspective of speaking, he talks about the power of both written and oral language. So this is what he said in spoken language. Through all the uncertainty, fear, anxiety, anger, death, and grief, our words continue to give us life. They give us strength and courage, faith and hope. Our words matter now more than ever. Communication is as vital to human existence as air, water, food, and shelter. Using the power of written and spoken language, we can express our love, defend our rights, attain our education, persuade an opponent, defeat an adversary, and entertain millions of readers and listeners. Communication converts ideas into words and words into action. And what we heard, your why you had to push beyond it, why you had to move beyond all of the possible hindrances, was the why. Because there's an action that you want people to be able to step into after they read your books. And that's what makes your words, even in writing, powerful. So go for it, go for it, go for it. Thank you all so much for this time today. I want you all to follow these individuals and go and support and buy their books. You have a nephew that needs Chris's book. You have a sister, a friend who needs Dominique's book. You have a niece, a nephew, or a child, come on, who needs these books so that their lives can be changed. And can I tell you, it's Christmas time. Let's get the kids something more than a toy. Let's get them something that you can read with them, or you can question them about, or get your sister something that's going to change her life. because she needs to be unleashed. Support, support, support. Chris Cox, Dominique Peel, Jessica Shepherd. Support them. Support them. I will definitely be going this. I got Jessica's book last week at her launch. So Chris and Dominique, I'm ready. I'm ready to go support because I definitely have some nephews. And I definitely have some amazing sisters that I can definitely share and bless them with what you all have for Christmas. A good gift that keeps on giving, a life-changing gift. That's what a book is. I just read this book earlier this year, and what was I able to do? Apply it to this moment, to this space. So we will see you all in the next session. We have an amazing speaker coming up. Don't miss it. Don't miss it.